Hey guys, it's Steve Coe with the Brilliant Beast blog. In this episode of Build Your Squat, I'm going to show you how to take the normal bodyweight squat and use it as a ballistic movement to take your strength training to the next level. I'll start off by explaining what ballistic means. In terms of exercise, a ballistic movement is one that's done with full explosive force. So, with a squat, a jump squat would be a ballistic version. With the jump squat, I'm pushing as hard as I can and I'm actually leaving the ground with the force that I'm giving off. The benefit of using a ballistic technique is obvious. Compared to a slow strength movement such as a normal bodyweight squat, in a jump squat, I'm using acceleration to put out much more power and much more force into the movement. So, even though I have limited weight options, I can still put out maximal force in my exercise. Before I begin, I go through my usual warm-up of jumping jacks, just shaking things off, pacing around, and here I'm doing normal squats so that I can go through the motion before I start using ballistic technique. If you're doing this on grass, which I recommend doing barefoot, find a patch that's relatively flat so that you have a stable base from which you can jump and land back onto. Start the jump squat the same way as a normal squat, feet comfortable width apart, standing straight up with your glutes flexed. Begin the descent by pulling your hips back. The main difference here is that my arms are pulled back at the start. Think of it as a vertical jump. As you rise, keep your head in line with your spine and look forward the entire time. When you descend, you want your feet to land squarely beneath you, just the way you left the ground. Remember the squat basics. As you go up and as you land, spread the floor with your feet and pull your knees outwards. As I touch back down onto the ground, my arms splay out to the sides. This helps me to absorb the impact of falling, and it also helps to get me in position for the next jump. So on this first set of jump squats, I honestly forgot about grease the groove, and I went ahead and did a full 8 repetitions. The good thing is I found out how many I can do, and I'll do half of those repetitions. And remember, when you're greasing the groove, give it plenty of rest after each set. Don't go back to the same exercise until you've given at least 5, maybe 15 minutes of rest in between. This ensures that you've rested enough and that you come back to the same movement with full force. The second exercise I'm doing is the clap push-up. This is also a ballistic movement because it uses acceleration and force to get myself off the ground. I could be doing the normal push-up as a slow strength movement and use, say, 5 to 8 repetitions in grease the groove. But today I want to use it as a ballistic movement so that I do fewer repetitions with more power. On the push-up, you want to keep your hips and your shoulders aligned. Use your hands the way you would use your feet on the squat. Spread the floor with them. Keep your shoulders packed back and down the entire time. When you take off and when you land, you want your shoulders stable and land with your hands in the same place that you left the ground. Just like with the jump squat, the clap push-up is very intensive on your abdomen. It's going to take a lot of strength in your core to keep yourself rigid and stable. Use your breath down into your belly as a stabilizing force for your abdomen. A tight abdomen will keep your torso straight and it'll give your hips and your shoulders a strong connection during the movement. Remember that if you're using grease the groove, you're only doing half the number of repetitions that you could do with perfect form. Put out only perfect repetitions. If this is just 1 or 2 repetitions, that's fine. Give it a break. As with slow strength training, ballistic training involves a lot of rest period in between exercises. I think I rest more between exercises on ballistic movements than with slow strength movements. The third exercise I'm using is the explosive pull-up. For the ballistic pull-up, start from a dead hang. As I review myself doing these pull-ups, I see that I'm not using perfect form. I could have kept this set to just 1 repetition. It seems like I didn't have enough strength on that second one, and I used my head to pull back, and I'm actually doing sort of a row at the beginning of the movement. I should be keeping my head in line with my body and my body rigid. I'm going to keep this in mind next time I do ballistic pull-ups. It's always good to tape yourself and see how you're actually doing. Okay, let's recap. I'm using Grease the Groove for 3 exercises here: the jump squat, the clap push-up, and the explosive pull-up. For each of these movements, I'm doing half the number of repetitions that I could be doing with perfect form at full strength. These are ballistic movements where I'm using explosive force. However, I'm still using all the same elements of form and technique as I would with slow strength versions of these movements. I'm making sure to take plenty of rest in between every exercise, at least 5 minutes and up to 15 minutes between the same exercise. I hope this gives you something you can use on a regular basis. In building strength for the long game, remember to be gentle on yourself and take things slow. As you begin to incorporate ballistic movements, be sure to use exercises that you're confident in doing slow style. You want to only use explosive force in training for movements that you can do with very good form. Giving the movement your full attention is more important than giving it your full exertion. I appreciate you being here, and I'll see you next time.